Welcome to Smart Branding, a podcast dedicated to branding, naming, and domain names. I'm Tatiana Bonneau, and with my guests, we try to help you create and grow strong, memorable, and meaningful brands online. I believe time is one of our most precious assets, and so I want to thank you in advance if you decide to spend the next 30 minutes with us. I promise to do my best to make those worth it. Let's go! So let's start with if you can tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure thing. My name is Ari Krzyzek. I am the CEO and head of strategy here at Chykalophia. We are a digital brand consultancy, primarily helping women-led brands, those who are in femtech, as well as direct to consumer, with all things related to brand strategy, UX strategy, all the way to design and implementation for web platforms. So it could look like e-commerce website, it could look like as web application, or it could be a marketing website. So we basically help find these different resources, strategies, and implementation to make sure that you create conversion you need for your business.
Great. And what about because we focus on brand names and branding and naming and domains as part of that, tell me a bit more about your brand name. What does it mean? How did you come up with it? How did you secure the name for it? And what was the reasoning for all that?
Yeah, my company name, Chykalophia, actually started long before I knew I was going to create a company. I was in high school at that time. This is me in my senior year. Got really bored in a biology class one day and was just learning all the different names between, worms or like other different things around our body. And it has quite a unique name, right? Scientists come up with a lot of different names for these. Looking at all of those names, I thought to myself, okay, so all these amazing scientists come up with names. Why can't I come up with a name too? So I created a name, Chykalophia. And I was doodling it, adding colors to it, some design flair on it. And I told my friend who loved doing screen printing at the time, I passed it to him and told him, can you print this and then put it on my black canvas backpack? He did it. And I wore it super proud the next day. And people just start knowing me by that name. Eventually, when I get to, the art school, we get into so many different platforms like Behance, or I think back then DeviantArt, things like that. Designers would probably know these names. And I would use the same name, Chykalophia. So every design that I come up with, people would know me. Oh yeah, that's Chykalofia's design. So it just ended up becoming, its own brand name, its own brand equity. And when my husband and I got married, I didn't realize he actually have yet another plan for me. So he would propose and say, hey, Ari, would you want to build a business with me? I do code, you do design, seems like a great, pair. It's like, sure, let's do it. And he would ask me, now, in terms of name, would you want to keep the name Chykalophia? And I said, heck yes, let's do it. So that's honestly how everything got started. Until today, we still, use the same name.
It's funny because you said you were thinking about it in a biology class, and it does sound scientific. I thought to myself when I first heard it, I was like, that must mean something like scientific. It must be something. There must be something there. It's quite funny that and like you said, I mean, if scientists can do it, why can't you?
Yeah.
Great. So you work with entrepreneurs on their branding and offer like a full range of services from, correct me if I'm wrong, from like coming up with the idea for the brand, what it should be, how to name it, and how to keep that consistent throughout their message and their whole marketing. Tell me a bit more about something that I think it's very much of a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs. How do you keep a brand consistent nowadays, especially when you're talking about so many channels, so many different ways that you can interact with an audience and you can distribute content?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, small, big companies, they all have different challenges around consistency. In my opinion, everything starts with the founder in the beginning, but then things get bigger. Then you get, more resources, you get more team members, you get board members now, or even like, more customers than ever before. How do you maintain those consistency? Starting with, really having clarity on your brand. I think that's the first step, right? When you know what it is that your, business is all about, what the brand stands for, what the brand against, and the brand values that you have, in for internal or even like external communication. I think when you have all these different pieces already laid out, you have a clear vision, clear mission as well, and a purpose of your brand. Everything else really comes, strategic in a way, right? Because you always fall back to, okay, what's the North Star of the brand? What's the purpose? Can we stay true in all of our messaging for that particular purpose, on that particular vision and mission that we have already defined previously? In the next, 5 years or 10 years, sometimes you would encounter a lot of different changes. You might pivot, you might change different services, offer new products, all those different new things. But the core of your mission, the core of your purpose, your why in the brand or for the brand, it's always going to stay the same, right? So you rarely change those. Some of the things that, maybe your approach slightly change, or some of the other offerings throughout the, business might change, but some of the core things, the foundation of your brand, that really change. So staying true in all of the different communication towards that guideline, it will help a lot of different professionals or even like team members across the board have a clear and, precise consistency throughout their messaging.
Yeah, that makes sense. I noticed you have the Chykalophia brand and website, but you also have your own name as a brand and as a domain name.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning behind that? That's my first question. And the other one is because we're talking about consistency and brand consistency, and the whole idea behind it, and how it's detrimental to have an inconsistent and fragmented brand, where do you see domain names in that mix?
Chykalophia is mainly all things related with the business, right? I feel like in a way, this is the home for all of our services, all of the, team members that we have, and helping our clients achieve their goals. So whether it's all things branding, all things UI UX, web development, all those different things get mixed up into one umbrella. And my personal brand, Ari Krzyzek, that one, I created separate domain for it because I'm a woman of many different things. And when you try to mix, only one person to represent a specific brand, you might create a little bit of disconnection. So when I'm out there representing myself as a CEO and head of strategy at Chykalophia, everything I do and say need to, feel and come from our core purpose of Chykalophia. But on the same time, though, me as a person, my personal brand also has a very specific, woman-led philosophy, women empowerment, all those different things around helping other women. And that carried out throughout all the initiative that I'm doing, all the different collaboration that I would take on. So my personal brand is slightly, how do I say this? It has slightly different mission than what Chykalophia mission is all about. So I think when you do have slightly different, core why in terms of your brand or of your own business, you might want to consider separating it out unless you are building a business as your own, meaning maybe you are a coach, maybe you're the only consultant, right? But if you have like a business with so many different people in it, ranging from, let's say, board members or maybe like, team investors, that's a lot more than just you. So you're also counting on so many different, different values that may not only reflecting to you, but also reflecting to all the other people getting involved in that particular brand.
Yeah, I see. That makes sense. And you mentioned you are involved a lot and do a lot for women-led businesses and women entrepreneurs. Is that for the Chykalophia brand, or generally that's something that you do with your personal brand?
Yeah, it's actually for both. So the core of, my why stems from my own personal brand philosophy. And all that is really is to help women thrive, right, in their life. So what I do on that particular channel is that I would speak towards different events, helping women really gain strategies towards breaking into the tech space or, UX design, things like that. The other ways to also, mentoring other women-led businesses or entrepreneurs who really want to, gain flexibility they want for their life and careers. Now, whereas on the Chykalophia side, for the business specifically, we want to help other women entrepreneurs succeed in their business so that they can have, the support they need. They don't have to have all the knowledge around technology or branding or marketing. They can just do what they love to do in the business, right? They can just focus on their, business development side. They don't have to worry about technical things or the other information on that part of the business so that we can help them towards that particular aspect of their business.
And in that line of thought, who would be your ideal client?
Our ideal clients are actually women who had gone through, lots of experiences as executives, right? But now it is time for them to actually create something for themselves, create a company that they have dream about to create change. A lot of our, clients left corporate because they have specific mission they're targeting. They want to create a new impact for specific type of audience. Let's say, it could be people in the specific industry. It could be, those who are in the femtech space trying to really, gain more solutions for, towards other people. And I would also say, sometimes we also work with women executives who really just want to focus in their own specific tasks, right? They want to have a partner who can handle everything else around technology or everything else around support on branding side of things.
What would you say is the most or the sort of a mistake you see most often entrepreneurs make on the branding and UX side of things, or generally in your field of work?
On the branding side, I would say not really having the clarity about who it is that you're targeting, right? Oftentimes we say like, yeah, we can target everybody. Or sometimes when you say like, yeah, we're targeting women age 25 to 65, it's like, whoa, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Sure, you're targeting specific type of audience in terms of gender, but that age is so broad. And a lot of people don't really have a clarity in terms of like, how can you get deeper into understanding their life stages or their actual needs, or even like the lifestyle they actually have day in and day out, the challenges, or even like, the dreams and hopes or fears that these target audience actually want to get solutions for. So that would be the first big thing that I noticed the most. The other thing too, when it comes to UX / all things related to digital channels, when client come to us, they often have a website, right? But they didn't really have a plan what to do with the website, nor have a clarity what exactly is the goal of the website. Do you create a website just because you need a website? Or is it just a formality because everybody else also have a website? So trying to really, guide a lot of our clients towards functionality, right, in order to help support their business goal, whether it is to gain more customers or maybe to actually, delivering new messaging towards specific campaign or whatnot. So really just trying to get those resources in front of them and giving them the support they need.
And that's something that you can help with.
Yep.
Great. And is there some type of a like size of a company that would be you work with? Is there somebody who's too small, too big? Like if somebody in our audience was to reach out,
Yeah.
What size would they have to be? What stage of development would they have to be at?
That's an interesting question. It actually varies. Sometimes we would work with those who are in their first, sorry about that. Sometimes we would work with, entrepreneurs who are in their first 2 years of business, right? They have specific goal that they are looking to hit, and they have specific budget in order to get there. They needed the resources and a team that would help them to get there. So sometimes we work with, clients like that. Some other time we would work with client who has, over 50 people in their employee roster or the team. So it honestly varies. There is no specific size to be exact, but we welcome whoever that we feel truly a good fit, meaning we have specific values, right? A lot of the time people come to us because they feel like we're a great fit in terms of value, as well as, perspective on how we handle business, branding, marketing, and digital.
Sure. Right. Yeah, I think I'm done with my questions. Probably last one, the one I usually ask is what's next? What's next for you, and what's next for Chykalophia?
Great one. We're in the middle of launching our book. So my husband and I.
Oh, nice.
Yes, my husband is my business partner. We start writing our book last July, so June, July 2021. And it's finally done, right? A 14-month project that I feel like I am ready to let this out into the world. So we'll be launching the book Made to Sell, creating website that convert. So that one will be launching October 29th on Amazon.
All right. That's great. Good timing. Yeah, I'm going to try to get that interview out just before that.
Thank you.
Good. And I think I asked you earlier and we kind of skipped that, but now you mentioned again, it's going to be about websites and how to make websites that convert. And to have a website, you need to have a domain name, and we deal with domain names. So what are your thoughts on that? What's the importance of domain names? And yeah, I'm not going to go into how to choose a good one because that's going to be another interview. But yeah, just your thoughts.
In terms of domain names, right? It's getting a little bit tricky because it almost feels like whenever you have a good name, somebody probably already taken the name, right? But the good news is that there's now a lot more different domain variations. There are, .co, .io, anything you can think of. So I would say, pick something that you feel is right. Sometimes it's great to have the .com because that's the, default of what people still have in their mind, right? Everything is a .com, but now there's a lot more variety in terms of the domain name that you can actually choose from. So explore on that particular part.
Yeah, that's, I deal quite a bit with domain names and naming, and that's usually, especially with startups, is my advice to, because yeah, we have a whole section on smart branding on why it's best and ideal to have a domain name that is and that is perfectly matching your brand name. But equally, if you're just starting out, you haven't tested your idea, you don't even know, whether you're going to stick with it and how it's going to develop, where you're going to go. Obviously, you can't afford the type of investment that most of the good .com names require. So yeah. That's probably the right way to go for startups, and then as they develop, obviously it becomes easier and more making sense to invest further in their brand. Great. Okay, well, that's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to the book. So yeah, definitely keep me updated on that. And I hope our viewers find that interview useful and will also learn some more from your book and can benefit from your services.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Tatiana.
Great. You're very welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of Smart Branding Podcast. Feel free to visit smartbranding.com for more information and reach out if you have any suggestions, questions, ideas, or just want to learn more about how a good domain name strategy can help you build a strong and successful brand. See you next time. podcast.